Hey everyone, it's Talia here. Welcome back to another video on my channel. We are going to do some spring nail art designs today, but we're going to do them on an extra short nail length. I wanted to show you guys that there is a lot of different nail art that you can do on extra short length, and I know that sometimes it can be a little tricky to come up with ideas, so hopefully this gives you some inspiration for spring. The nail tips that I'm going to be using today are the Ombre Gel X tips. These are in the extra short coffin shape. I am just fitting them into my practice finger right now, and I'm going to be using a size 5 for this whole video, so I'm just going to pull those out and get them prepped. This is the first look that we are going to create. It's kind of like this abstract animal print look. So we're going to start with this blue shade from Ombre. I really enjoy working with these gel polishes because they are so pigmented. So you don't have to create too much bulk when you're doing like these unique nail designs. These are the 4 colors that we are going to be working with here. I thought these paired really nicely with the blue, but honestly we're going to be covering quite a bit of it up because I wanted to have a bunch of different colors on this nail design. Now this brush that I'm using kind of has like a weird head to it. You do not have to use a brush like this. I tried the ombre one and it worked really well too. I was just kind of wanting to play around with like unique textures with this nail design. Now because I'm working on it's like a medium shade background and not something that's super light, I did have to layer these gel polishes on top of each other. So I would do my brush strokes, then I'd cure it, and then I'd go in and do another layer of it, and I found that this worked really well. And I did want to have a little bit of gold throughout because this is where I want some of my animal print designs to be. So if you're not wanting your colors to kind of start to mix together, just cure in between each of the different steps. Now you guys know me, I prefer to encapsulate basically all of my different nail art here. That way I can do any finish filing or anything that I need to do, especially if I'm going to do some stamping. Sometimes I like to do that on either a finish file nail or a matte surface nail. So I am going to be encapsulating this with the Cocoa and Claire glass builder gel, curing that, and then going in and doing some filing to shape the look. You guys will see me do this a lot where I will embed certain products and then I will do art on top as well. There is a few different reasons for it. I find that if I was to go in and do my black paint as a gel polish embedded, I just don't really care for the look of it. I really like the look of the paint kind of looking like it's floating on top of the gel polish. When you top coat it, you kind of see what I mean with it. And we talk a lot about this at encapsulation and why I do a lot of it in my nail art workshops because we work with so many different mediums in those workshops. This nail art design is so versatile for all the different seasons. Just change your background colors depending on the season. This is another design that is completely customizable for the season or the different color palettes that you want to work with. So we're going to take something that has like a milky base to it. So I really like working with Accents Koi. I love the consistency of this product, and when I layer it up I find that it doesn't look too thick because it is nice and thin to work with. We are going to do a matte top coat on top of this as well. So I'm going to use the gel bottle one here, and this is a stamping plate that I want to work with because I love these little daisy flowers. Now I decided to go with a rainbow color palette for this. I thought it would be really fun to kind of make them look like the rainbow was like blending together. So I'm going to get all of my polish bottles opened before I start stamping here, and then I'm going to put the colors down as quick as I can because they do dry pretty quick here, and I wanted them to look like they were ombre. I didn't want them to look super stark, so I am just going to take my time here kind of lining it up. That is something that I do find with short nails. It can be a little tricky to figure out exactly where you want to put the nail art so that it doesn't like it looks proportional on that sort of length of nails. It took me a while to figure out what centered stamp I wanted, and ultimately I decided on just a rainbow center. So I would try to go like opposite colors of the color wheel for the centers of whatever nail I was doing, or something that didn't look funny, I guess, with it. I also tried black with it, and I just found it to be a little bit too harsh for the look that I was going for. So I end up covering these 2 dots up with a different color because I just prefer the look of it. Now I do think that a white center on this would have looked really good too here. So I just have a little bit of acetone on like a little micro swab, and I like to use these to clean up like fine details of stamps that transferred that I didn't want to be transferred here. I decided to try the Accents matte top coat because I wanted to see how it would do over top of stamping here, and it went on really good. I like the consistency of this top coat. The only thing is that it does not cure tack free, which actually has not at all been an issue. I do not mind removing the tack because it still turns out super, super matte. I am very happy with that matte top coat. You guys are going to watch me struggle my way through this design. I think it ends up turning out pretty cute, but let me walk you through the process of it. We're going to start with this color from Luxio. It is a beautiful light milky pink, but kind of like a corally pink color. It is really, really pretty and definitely becoming a favorite in my list. I'm going to go on here and do one coat and then we're going to cure it. Now I moved a lot of my fusion paints into this palette here, so that's what I'm going to be working with. I am just using a really bright red one to create some kind of shapes that look like strawberries here. I wasn't super picky about how these were kind of turning out initially, and then as we work through this process, I really did not care for how I hand painted these strawberries, but instead of like starting all over, I figured, you know what, I bet I can rig up something here to make this look a little bit better. If I can avoid like starting over with a nail design, I will do my absolute best to do that because I feel like there's so many different ways to use your nail art products in your collection to kind of figure it out as we go. So I love giving you guys tips on doing that. So I did decide to go in and paint some like greenery on these strawberries. I thought it was going to look super cute. And I went in with like a light pastel shade initially, and then I added, while the light pastel shade was wet, just some like streaks of green to kind of create a little bit more dimension for the leaves. Now at this point I was already not loving these strawberries. Now that I'm watching the video back, I'm like, they're really not too bad, but I don't know, I just was not liking them at this point. So I figured, you know what, we're going to encapsulate these and we're going to try and find a stamp that we can kind of cover this up with. So after it has cured, I'm going to just do some quick shaping just to make sure there's no lumps and bumps in my design before I go in and do some stamping. And I did find these strawberries on this plate here that actually worked really well. I just initially stamped the black down just to see how I liked it. Again, I liked it, but I was going for more of a softer vibe for this design too. So I decided to try a gold with it. Again, I liked this, but I thought I could do better. So I ended up picking number 222 stamping polish, which is a beautiful creamy shade. And I loved how it looked with like the background color that we had picked here. So I ended up sticking with this and going in and stamping these strawberries just kind of by twisting my stamper to line up as best as I could with the painting that I had done. They are absolutely not perfect, but they turned out okay. So I have really been liking the looks where you've got like your center design like this one with the strawberries, and then you have like little tiny bows surrounding it. I think it looks so cute. So I found these bows on this stamping plate here, and I thought I'd be able to angle them to kind of almost look like polka dots are surrounding the strawberries. So again, when I look at my products like this stamping plate here, I try and think of outside the box ways to work with that stamping plate. There is just so many things you can do with all the different images on your stamping plates. I decided to go in with that Accents matte top coat and make these nails matte. I do like the look of metallic stamping polish matte. I think it looks pretty cool. So I'm going to remove the dispersion layer here, and this is how the strawberry nails turned out. They are adorable. Now, when I film these type of videos, it takes me a couple of days to do it, and not in the sense like I spend an entire day working on it, but I tend to need a little bit of a break to like get my creativity flowing again. So I am coming back to this at a different date here, and we are going to finish the rest of the designs. So while I had like my little break, I was brainstorming of what I wanted to do on here, and I knew that I wanted to try like a French design but incorporate some loose glitter somehow. Now the pink that I used for the background here is Accents Lip Gloss. It is like a transparent gel polish, but the pink shade to it is buildable to the point that you can make it like pretty bright, which is what I'm going to do here. So right here, there is one coat down, and then I'm going to create my French with this Opera yellow gel polish. I really like working with the Opera gel polish for any sort of hand painting that I do, which I have been doing a lot more lately because I really enjoy working with these. When it comes to French nails, I really like a dramatic dramatic French. And I haven't always liked a dramatic French like this, but I really like it right now. So that's what I'm doing here by creating like really deep smile lines and then removing my excess product with this clear jelly stamper brush. I find it works really well for it. They have this one and a pink one, and both of them are equally good for cleaning up your smile lines. I pulled the Accents Gel Shifter color to be the base for my glitter gel because these apply really thin, and I do not want to create too much bulk with these nails, especially because we are going to be working with loose glitter. So I'm going to paint just a little bit on the corner of the yellow here. I did initially think that I was going to do the entire nail where the yellow was, but I just wanted a little touch of glitter for this design, which is something that I love doing with nail art, just kind of playing with like putting it in angles or corners or anything like that. After I have cured the glitter gel, I am going to go in and do another layer of that lip gloss color down. Now, you can build this up as like sheer or as opaque as you want, which is something that I like about the versatility of this product. I wanted to make these nails have like a really pink base because I like that look, but I know that a lot of people prefer like a more like natural looking pink too, so do whatever works for you, but I really like the contrast between the yellow and pink in this nail. I am going to encapsulate this nail design, and we're going to do it a finished file here as well. I do talk a lot about encapsulating and filing in my nail workshops too, so if you need more information about this, the All About the Layers workshop is probably the best one to kind of walk you through a little bit more of what I mean with it. Now, something that I say a lot in my nail art workshops is you can start here or we can add some more nail art. So I actually wanted to put this really cute lace looking flower down on the nail somehow. So I initially stamped it down to kind of cover up that glitter, and I was thinking, I think I want to move it to the other side. I think that that would look a little bit, I don't know, better. It was just contrast a little bit better. Plus we'd get to see that glitter coming out. I'm going to use like a lip gloss wand here to remove the excess stamping that I didn't want. Top coat, and this is how the nail design turned out. It's giving Belle vibes. So what do you guys think? Really liking 3D nail art, but with chrome textured on top of it. I think it looks really cool. So we're going to take these Luxio gel polishes. These are from the Paradisco line, and some of them are a little bit more opaque, but this one here, this one's called Lip Gloss. It is a nice like transparent pink one, so I think it's great for marbling. And I'm going to pair all of these different finishes on top of each other and then marble them together. And I do have an upcoming marble workshop that is in pre-sale right now. It's launching on Thursday. So check out my website for more information about that, because we're going to go through a ton of marbling tips. So I actually had these little like 3D molds that I wanted to try. So I'm going to take the Coco and Claire art gel, and I'm going to put some of the gel into this mold here. Just taking a little pin to kind of pop some of the bubbles that are in here and just make sure that we're not going to have any pockets when it cures. After it's cured, I'm going to take my e-file with these really small little sanding bands on them that I think are so great, and I'm just going to file down the excess gel here, and then we're going to take some more of that art gel and put a small layer of it down on the nail where I want the 3D flower to be. Place the 3D nail art on top of it and then cure it. Now, where the nail meets the 3D gel, there's going to be some gaps, especially on working on like shorter nails like this. So I'm going to take some of the art gel and just fill in those gaps here, cure that, and then we're going to do our chrome technique. So I'm working with the Accents Shine On top coat. It works great for chrome, and I'm surrounding the nail as well as the 3D object first, and then I'm going to go in with a brush on top of the 3D object, but I'm going to go in with a finer brush and kind of like remove as well as work around that top coat, because I want to see the little grooves of the flower in here. Now, a product that I've been trying to work a little bit more with is the Coco and Claire liquid chromes, and I have learned that these work a little bit better with some warmth. So I'm going to put them on top of my gloves here and just kind of warm that liquid chrome up before I apply it on top of the nail. So I went in and put it on the nail as well as the flower, because I want the 3D flower to look like it is essentially a part of the nail here. I did like how this flower looked on top here, but I did want to give it a little bit more definition. So I'm just going to take some glass gel and I'm basically just putting it on top of like the petals. This way it kind of defines them a little bit more. Now you could actually use your glass gel and put that in the mold first before you go in and do your 3D gel on top of it. And then it would have worked at that step too. So there's a couple different options for it. After that's cured, I'm going to seal in this entire design and it is good to go. I really enjoy working with like giant 3D objects on top of nails like this. I know it's not for everybody, but I think it gives like a really cool effect to the different nail designs that you can come up with. This design turns out to be one of my favorites in this whole video. We're going to start by using the Fusion Flower Gel. This is in mint green and it is a really nice like green color and it's got some decent florals in it and there's some like specks of glitter in it as well. But I did decide to add some extra flowers to it, and the reason that I picked the flower gel to do this with is because it's going to create lots of different depth by having like some flowers embedded in that gel and then some flowers kind of resting on top of it. But I'm just going to paint the design down and then put some dried flowers on top of it. So normally when I do designs like this, I like to start with like whatever your solid color is going to be versus the texture of your nail art. But for this one, I wasn't entirely sure what green I was going to use initially or how big it was going to take up on the nail here. So I'm just going through some of the cocoa and clair greens that I have, but nothing was really hitting for me here. And then I pulled this accents color. It's called Gentle. And as soon as I kind of lined it up with the flowered nail here, I was like, yep, that's what we're going to use. So I'm going to put a little bit on my palette because I did want to kind of roughly outline where I was going to put this. Now, you guys will see me do this quite often where the designs that I do are like at a weird angle or they're not perfectly straight, and this is intentional because I find it a lot easier to make it purposely look crooked than try really hard to make something look straight. So I am going to encapsulate all of this nail art here. I'm going to put most of the clear gel where the flower nail part of it is, but I am going to put a little bit of clear over on top of that green too. After it's cured, I'm going to finish file it. I am going to use an e-file for this though, because I know that those flowers are like really poking through the gel here. So I just want to make sure that I get it all nice and smooth. And I find an e-file with this like really small sanding band works good for filing down press-ons like this. I'm going to remove the dispersion layer, and then I see that I have filed a little bit of that green away, but instead of going in and adding some more green to it, I was like, you know what, let's use a swirl stamp. And sometimes I will pick stamps from like unique stamping palettes like this one, which is a fairy themed one, but it's got some really great swirls on it. So definitely take a look at some of the plates that you have in your collection or some ones that you're looking at buying and see if it's going to be a plate that's a little bit more versatile, like this fairy one where I can use the really cool swirls to stamp them kind of off center. So this was the main reason that it didn't really matter how we lined up that green, because I knew that I was going to outline it with some sort of glitter here. I decided to go in with this gold one from Opry. I really like this one, and I think they have a silver one too that I'm going to have to add to my wish list, because I tend to do little outlines like this quite often because I just feel like it finishes and cleans up your look. So let's get it top coated, and this design is complete. This is the last look that we are going to create today, and it is an ombre design, but we're going to work with some foils too. So I like to start with a color that's going to be a little bit brighter and more pigmented for an ombre look, and I really like working with the Luxio gel polishes for this because the consistency of it just tends to melt almost like for ombre here. So I'm going to go in with this really pretty like turquoisey color, and I'm just going to blend it down, and then I'm going to take an ombre brush and just kind of fade it out a little bit, cure that. And then I'm going to take this pink color. This is that Insight that we saw a little bit earlier, and it is a little bit more see-through than the blue one, so I find that it overlaps the blue one really nicely. I'm going to do the exact same technique where I put it down and then just kind of fade it into that blue. Now this step isn't always necessary, but I did feel like I wanted that blue to be a little bit brighter, so I'm going to go and do the exact same steps after that pink one is cured. However, I'm using like a really small amount of product here just to like make it fade into that pink. I'm going to go in with some of the Glitter Mix Canada foil gel. I really like working with this. Just make sure you're working really thin, and when you cure it, if it is still shiny when you pull it out of the light, it needs to be cured a little bit longer. So I find it usually is about 45 seconds to a minute in the lamps that I use. And the foil that I'm going to use today is this floral like animal print one. I think this one went really nice with the color palette here. I'm going to take my time to kind of figure out where I want that foil. Now the animal print on this is pretty big for this nail, but I do think it works with it because we've got the combination of the flowers with it. I like using a silicone tool to rub the foil down just to make sure that it is transferring everywhere that I need it to. Now I prefer to encapsulate my foils. I do this with nail decals too. I just think that a thin layer of gel over top of it helps with any lifting that might come up if I were to just go in with top coat. At least that's my experience with it. Plus I can finish file here if I need to. So I'm going to get this all top coated here and this design is done. This is a really versatile look by working with these kind of like see-through gel polishes to create an ombre, and then any of the foils that you may have in your collection, or another way to try out some different foils. So these are the designs that we came up with for this spring look. I hope that you guys liked it. I hope it gave you some ideas of maybe some ways to use some different products that are out there. Make sure you're following me on all my social media, and I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!